The show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is the Gloves Are Off.
All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Gloves Are Off. I'm Moses Wolder, and these guys are busybodies chatting away to a little bit of a surprise. Matt Schumont filling in, much like Mark Eckelroy of the Jets, coming in the fourth quarter for Mark Sanchez.
And the crowd goes wild.
There you go. Matt from Newcap Sports, of course. Glad to have you on the show.
No problem.
And Jason Newman, of course, you love to rib me a little bit, which is perfect because we need that here on the show.
Yeah, we've gone back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. My head's getting a little too big.
I was really looking forward to Buchanan being here, but I see he got a little yellow fever. Is that what they call it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Flu-like symptoms is what we'll call it. But yes, glad to have you, Lloyd Bandits,
Yes.
head coach. And we'll make sure we don't make that mistake again. And let's go on to the topic, shall we? And we'll kick off the show with the Kansas City Chiefs. Very emotional time, of course. Javon Belcher the day before, very tragic events, murdering his girlfriend and then committing suicide right in front of his head coach and GM, which could be a shock to anybody. And you could understand if the coach said, you know what, I didn't want to play. But however, Romeo Crennel and the rest of the brass within the Kansas City Chiefs said, look, we'll talk to the captains and see what they say. And we'll get a quote here. He said, after talking with the captains, they also felt like it was in the best interest that we play. If for no other reason, it takes our mind off the misery for a few hours, and that's what we did. Now, there was a lot of talk beforehand, a lot of fanfare saying, cancel the game, it's not right to play. What do you guys say?
As a big KC Chiefs fan myself, yeah, it was pretty tough. Great linebacker. I thought they should have played. You know, just like Crennel said, you know, and the captains, you got to, you know, get out of here for 2 hours. Don't even think about it. Play football because that's what they do for a living, right? So go out there day to day, forget about it, and worry about it after the game.
I think it brings the publicity of what he did more to light, and in a way it gives everybody a chance on, you know, network television to give their condolences to the family and the teammates to play for something. I think there's a lot more sincerity, and you know, everybody sees the players and how tough of a game it was for them to play, and everybody gets that feeling. I think the interesting thing is going to be this whole hit to the head thing. It's going to come right back to light because, you know, he'd had that hit back a few weeks ago, and obviously something wrong mentally to kill your pregnant girlfriend and yourself in front of your coach and GM. So that's going to come right back to the forefront.
And that's the thing. He's only 25 years old. It wasn't like a Junior Seau moment where a guy has been playing 20 years with all that contact, then being away from the game a few years, you could start seeing the deterioration of, say, the brain or what have you. He was only 25 years old. He was a young man. Is that still going to bring up the topic? I don't know if there's any direct relation to this. I think there was more to it.
Yeah, a little bit of both probably. You know, outside life is completely different from an NFL life. But like a linebacker, he's been taking shots to the head since college, right? So he's making, 10 to 12 tackles a game times X amount of games. So eventually, you know, it might catch up to you. And like you said, there's always that outside lifestyle, you know. Well,
and you're probably right. I mean, it's probably not because of that, but it's still, you know, the guys that bang the drums, they are going to hit it hard, right? Because it wasn't that long ago where he's got the head problem, right? And all of a sudden, here we sit. And they'll just draw a line, and here we sit again, right? And it could be numerous things, but obviously something was definitely wrong.
Well, you talk about headshots becoming a reoccurring issue. Well, how about gun control? According to Bob Costas, during halftime of the Sunday Night Football game, he decided to give his 2 cents and offer a few quotes here. He said, in the coming days, Javon Belcher's actions and their possible connection to football will be analyzed. Who knows? But here, Jason Whitlock, referring to a article written by a Fox Sports columnist, is what I believe. If Javon Belcher didn't possess a gun, he and Cassandra Perkins, his girlfriend, would be alive today. So now, what do you say about this political action and movement by Bob Costas? It's a sporting event. Should that be allowed, Jason?
Well, I mean, I guess we live in a society with free speech, and we don't want to start to censor that because then we turn into Middle East or Russia or wherever, right? But I mean, at the same token, that's just one man's opinion, because it just seems like, you know, gun control or not, it seems like if someone wants to find a gun, they'll find one.
It is his opinion, but was the venue, his modem, going into this an issue? Because it's a sporting event. You're at halftime of a football game. Discuss the football game. don't discuss your political ideals or don't discuss certain topics. You can mention the tragedy of Mr. Belcher and what happened and how maybe you could grieve or use a certain way to kind of delve into that. But the whole issue of gun control, isn't that something that should warrant maybe talk off the field or off air?
Yeah, maybe it could have been, one of the heat of the moment kind of deals, Pretty upsetting thing. Costas, I don't even think he wanted the game to go on, right? So, it is what it is. We're all going to move on from it and just go from there.
All right. Well, let's talk about Cooperstown. And obviously they're going to offer a break here. I know it just seems to be one thing after another, but you have 3 interesting names that are going to be first ballot guys, and that's Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Sammy Sosa. Obviously, a lot of talk within the steroid era. They haven't all been officially convicted. They haven't necessarily said they did it, although there's tons of speculation that they have. My question for you guys, should any of them be in the Hall?
Don't be surprised if all 3 get into the Hall this time around. Like, they had amazing
As first
careers.
ballots?
As first ballots.
Really?
They put up the numbers. They smashed records. Clemens was an unbelievable pitcher. Both guys could hit the ball. Like you said before, there'll probably be an asterisk by their names, but what they did in their era was pretty unbelievable.
Even before the whole steroid era, they were remarkable players. Sosa, not so much, but Clemens and Bonds. But first ballots, I'm actually quite shocked that you actually think about that to be in there. I think it might be a little bit later on, but what do you guys think?
Well, I don't know.
Jason?
I'm thinking innocent till proven guilty, right? So if they actually haven't been convicted, it's hard to just sit there and go, well, we think they did this. At the same time, there's enough controversy. You wonder if where we've seen it in the NFL, where they, maybe they're not first ballots, so maybe they get passed over once just because it's almost like saying, there's a lot of controversy around this, fellas, and they get in maybe a year down the road or something. But if they in the end haven't been convicted, how do you keep them out based on hearsay and speculation?
Although you have guys like Andy Pettit, in Clemens' case, I can understand Barry Bonds, but in Clemens' case, he's had several guys come out and say, hey, look, I injected him, or he told me to do this, we went through this. You've had several guys. McNamara's another guy that you don't have to worry about so much. But Andy Pettit, who's very reliable, has no reason or motive to lie, has been one of the most classy guys in the game of baseball or in sport altogether. So
what we're saying, though, is that if I didn't get along with somebody or didn't want to see somebody, as long as I provide enough speculation, we're not going to put somebody in the Hall?
Well, I'll say this. Clemens is a jerk. And
so Greg Buchanan, by not being here, right? There's some shady things going on, right? He's not here, and all of a sudden now there's enough speculation that Greg's not going to the Hall.
Well, I'll tell you this. Greg's been nice to me, so I'd vote him in. That's how about that. And you know what? You guys have been nice, too. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with more Gloves Are Off.
Just going to say, what a...